Hi everybody, Renegade 67 and/or 68 here with some more Let's Play and/or stream Fates Tonight and/or Unlimited Blade Works of the and/or blind variety. So, last time, Lancer went out like a cool bro. Also Kirei went out like a bit of a bitch. Shinji ran away like a bitch, but is maybe still alive? No, he's definitely alive. They could have clearly killed him and they didn't. I don't know what that means. That's the big question mark in my mind right now, and I'm curious where that's going. But, in terms of what's happening right now, so the fact that Kirei showed up and died is huge, because the fact that Kirei was not around, but I knew he'd almost certainly have to be around, was in my mind was like, okay, there might be quite a bit left in this timeline still. It might be like, okay, we do this thing with Archer, and then some time passes, and then next day maybe we do something else. But like, now that Kirei all of a sudden showed up and died in my last stream, now suddenly I'm thinking, oh, we might just be here. This might just be the last thingamajigger. All that's left is, you know, Shiro, Archer off, and then Gilgamesh will show up and we'll have Three's a crowd, and that's basically it, right? They could do it all now. So that changes my mindset. It feels like suddenly we're in the big climax where I wasn't certain we were before. But beyond that, I'm very curious. Okay, Saber intrigues me quite a bit because in my mind, all that's left is for Shiro and Archer to have a climactic battle. And then Gilgamesh will show up, and then Shiro might contract with Gilgamesh, possibly. Not Gilgamesh, sorry. Shiro will contract with Archer, his future self. Shiro contract with Gilgamesh would be funny. No, Shiro might contract with Archer, and then they'll fight Gilgamesh. And it'll be great. So what the fuck does Saber do? There's no one left for her to fight. Assassin's gone. That was implied, at least. It wasn't technically stated, but it was implied in the last stream that he's gone. Kirei's gone, so there's nothing for Saber to do, really? And so that's why my mind is saying what's going to happen is that Shiro and Archer are going to have some resolution where they're going to become best buddies with each other. Third timeline Shiro contracts with Gil to fight Makiri. Sounds great, let's do it. But yeah, my mind's idea is that Shiro and Archer are gonna fight each other and then fight Gil. So after Shiro and Archer have some kind of bonding moment and learn to love each other, and more importantly themselves, maybe Saber will see that and then have character development and be like, oh yeah, my wish is stupid, I shouldn't have it. And then at that moment, Gilgamesh swoops out of nowhere and shanks her, and she dies when she's not expecting it because her character development makes her less appealing to Gilgamesh. So he kills her, and that prompts the Shiros to get angry, and then they fight? There's a couple things going against this. Number one, I know Gilgamesh has the hots for Saber, so that's going against it for starters. But number two, Saber supposedly has A+ luck right now. Getting shanked like that and if she dies that way, that is not very lucky. Maybe she'll live. Maybe she'll get shanked and won't have the ability to actually fight, but she'll live. So that's possible, maybe. If she does get shanked and go out terribly, then that would at least, I could definitely see the Unlimited Blade Works anime changing things, because I feel like they're obligated to, because this is like the continuation of her story in Fate Zero. We don't have, like, necessarily, if you're someone who's just watching the anime, you watch the Zero, and you watch the Unlimited Blade Works, you don't see her happy ending from Timeline 1, you just see her terrible ending from Timeline 2 in theory, if this is theoretically true. On a similar level, I would be fairly certain, without watching it, that the Unlimited Blade Works anime would give some extra glamour to Kirei's death, because he's a big deal, and he just kind of dies like nothing in this timeline, which again is fine, because we've seen the first timeline, he had his epic showdown in death, so it's fine for him to just drop like nothing in this timeline. But, you know, if you're an anime watcher, that would be, like, lame for him to die like that if you didn't see the first timeline, theoretically. So, some thoughts in my mind. Speaking of thoughts about Timeline 3, I've been thinking about what kind of relevant stuff might happen in Timeline 3 now that we're definitely closing in on the end of this timeline. So, Assassin for sure needs some important shit in Timeline 3, because he died off screen 2 times in a row, but also, I feel like they're 100% building up a Saber Assassin awesome battle, because they had a battle in Timeline 1 that was cool that Assassin basically won. He essentially let Saber get away once Shiro showed up, but Assassin was clearly winning. And then in Timeline 2, we didn't get to see much of it. They sort of kind of maybe fought to a draw, debatable. But once again, Assassin said, I want to fight you again. So clearly they're building up to a Timeline 3 where they actually get to have a proper big fight. And hopefully we get a little more insight to Assassin's emotional state as well. So that's almost certainly going to happen. Ryder definitely needs more fleshing out, because she's the only servant whose real name we do not know. She died first twice, though she still had a decent amount of importance in Timeline 1. But we don't know her real name, so she's definitely going to have some amount of importance in Timeline 3. Likely separated from Shinji, because like Shinji tried to move on from Ryder in this timeline, which makes me think Ryder is essentially going to be like bitch please to Shinji in Timeline 3 and try to usurp him, which may or may not lead to a heel face turn from Shinji, possibly. The fact that in this time Shinji didn't go all the way and become the big bad and was essentially shunted back into just, running away like a coward may affirm the idea that he's going towards an ultimate heel face turn, or maybe not. Yeah, so something's gonna happen with Ryder. Obviously something's going on with Sakura. Something's clearly going on with Ayako. There's some Makiri nonsense. Mato stuff in general I think is going to be interesting. What else? There was something else on my mind and now it's slipping my mind. Before Route 3 Ryder dies even faster. I mean, she could still die first as long as we get some interesting stuff. Oh, that's right, Ilya. We still don't know, I mean I know, but we still don't know that Ilya's father is Kiritsugu, so Ilya's going to need some amount of importance in Timeline 3, which is good, because she went out like nothing in this timeline. She had a fun little backstory thing with Berserker, but I already talked about how I feel like that's misplaced in this timeline. I suppose it's there to show off, in theory, if we hadn't seen Timeline 1, you could argue that that whole thing is there to show off Gilgamesh and his dominance towards Berserker. But we know how much ass Gilgamesh kicks. We'll believe you. You don't have to show us the fight. You can come to the aftermath of the fight. But, anyways, so those are my main thoughts before Timeline 3 starts of stuff that has to be important. Yeah. Beyond that, who else is relevant? If we go to, not weapons, status. Saber is whatever. She's important, I guess. So maybe she needs some kind of development. Lancer, I think I'm pretty content with Lancer as a character. He could get off-screened in Timeline 3 and I wouldn't even care that much, to be honest. I enjoy him, so I wouldn't dislike him doing more stuff, but I feel pretty content with him. Archer, I also, depending on how this goes, I'm pretty sure I have a rough idea of how it'll go. Depending on how this goes, I'm also pretty content with Archer. I don't think he needs to be around much in Timeline 3, if at all. It might even be more meaningful if he just gets ousted immediately so that our Shiro can now properly take on the dream and not go in the, wrong direction that leads to Archer, as it were. Ryder needs more stuff. Caster and Herc can maybe get some stuff together. They might be going towards an ultimate Caster heel face turn because they gave her a tragic backstory. They also went out of their way to say that, there's a connection between Caster and Herc. And that went nowhere in this timeline. And I know they come from the same general, mythology or whatever, and that's fine, but Rin didn't have to go out of her way to point that out, unless it was going to be meaningful. And Caster could have also theoretically, depending on how loosey-goosey they want to be with interpretations, which they tend to be, Caster could have theoretically been based on there's probably a bunch of different tragic heroines that turned evil that she could have theoretically been based on for this game. They went out of their way to choose someone who is connected, at least loosely, to Hercules, and then they went out of their way to have Rin say, yeah, we should go talk to a Berserker who is Hercules because of that. So, because of that, that's in my mind, that says there should be some amount of Caster-Berserker chemistry there. And we've already talked about Assassin. Gilgamesh with this timeline might be fairly finished because we had his big fight with Saber in Timeline 1, and now we'll have him fighting Shiro, which was also built up someone in Timeline 1. So after that, I feel like Gilgamesh is basically done. I could be wrong. No, he has something with Sakura, right? I don't know. He talked to Sakura in the prologue for a bit, so there might be something there. Maybe Makiri mind controls him or something. Makiri is almost certainly going to be a big villain in Timeline 3, and it definitely begs the question of why he hasn't bothered doing anything in the first two timelines. Or, alternatively, he's been doing shit, it's just shit we've been ignoring, and we end up not ignoring it, so he ends up fighting back against us, and that's what makes him such a big villain in Timeline 3. That's very possible as well, because Sakura is almost certainly experiencing something traumatic, and we are not helping her, I don't think. I think she's going through some shit because of Makiri, and we're not doing anything about it, and so maybe we're thrusting ourselves into making Makiri the big villain? I was going to say Gilgamesh we might be done with, but he had a private talk with Sakura in the prologue, so maybe there's something more to that. We could be done with him and I'd feel content, but I don't think we are because of that talk with Sakura in the prologue. As far as masters go, Ilya we need more with. Caster, whatever. Kazuki, we might get some connection between Kazuki and Issei, because I'm still wondering about how much Kazuki cares about stuff, and even his feelings for Caster were left a little ambiguous. They may go full on and allow the romance to actually happen if they want Caster to become our ally in Timeline 3. It's not impossible. Shinji, I think, you know, there's probably gonna be some more stuff with him. Shiro, Kirei, they could definitely do some more stuff with Kirei. I don't know what, but the thing is, Kirei keeps pulling shit out of his ass. Like, in Timeline 1, he had some crazy plot twists that came out of nowhere. In Timeline 2, they didn't come out of nowhere for me, because I knew about Rin's dad. But in Timeline 3, he could have some other bullshit. I'd believe it. I could see it going both ways at this point. And that's it. Alright. In that case, let's continue. Yeah, lots of thoughts on my mind. But anyways, let's actually possibly finish this timeline. I don't think we're going to finish it this week. But based on the way things are going, we're probably almost certainly going to finish it next week. Anyways, though, dashes. You dare mind control me, mongrel? If he's mind controlled, how could he fight back, though, and say mongrel? The same swords, the same techniques clash. My attack and his attack are the same. But still, the blades chip away and my body is wounded the more we fight. Even if your techniques are the same. He's taller than you, which means blah 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 of importance. The attack that I blocked breaks through. He's too angry to be controlled by a mongrel, but then he's not really controlled. The attack that I blocked breaks through. Concho in my left hand is destroyed by his Concho, and his weapon sweeps at me from the side. Uh-oh. Hugger! I twist my body to dodge it, but it still slashes me. Also, in my mind, on some level, it's very possible that the Grail itself is the final boss. If we just need to destroy this disgusting Grail forever, I could see that as being a thing. Like, you know, Makiri being an enemy, being like the final boss of Timeline 3, but then we get to the Golden Row, and the real true final boss is the Grail itself. I could definitely see that being a thing. Anyways, I twist my body to dodge it, but it still slashes me. Although not immediately fatal, the wound will eventually overcome me. Uh-oh. Damn it! So you want to punch Ilya. Okay, I don't want to punch Ilya. It's just that I like Ilya. I just think the Grail itself might be the enemy. Not Ilya. We didn't wish on the Grail or whatever, and Ilya still kept on living. Also, the Grail was taken out of Ilya, and, you know, was still a Grail, so we just need to take the Grail out of Ilya and not kill Ilya, and then, easy peasy, then we get to punch the Grail. Oh yeah, his Avalon might kick in because Saber is right here. Good point, Wise. Good point. That's a very wise statement. Although not immediately fatal, the wound will eventually overcome me. Kuso! I bear the pain by cursing. Yeah, that is one way to do it. And swing Bakuya at the close enemy. Oh! What? It's blocked and destroyed as well. We have the same swords and the same techniques, but there's a gap that I cannot fill.
お前の感想と俺の感想が同等とでも思ったか。お前はまだまだ基本骨子の想定が甘い。
Do you think my concho and yours are equal? Your assumptions of the basic structure are still too weak. I mean, sure, but isn't his will stronger? And isn't that what it's about? Willpower! Willpower! Maybe the willpower, I'm relating that far too much because I know that's relevant for Avalon. Maybe it's not as relevant for this, but, you know, isn't it based on imagination? I could still see this Shiro having a stronger imagination because he has the imagination still to become the ideal that you've abandoned.
いかにイメージ通りの外見材質を保とうが構造に利がなければ崩れるのは当然だ。イメージといえど筋が通ってなければ瓦解する。
You're really gonna give me freaking exposition now, Archer? Even if you get the appearance, you're gonna give me advice now, maybe. Archer has been the best mentor for Shiro, in a way. Even if you get the appearance and the composition materials down, it is a matter of course for it to be destroyed if the structure is not reasoned out. Even an image falters if it's illogical. Oh no! The appearance and the composition to destroy the structure is not reasoned out. I see, so it's still kind of rough around the edges. Makes sense. Wish for a nicer genie. Yeah, I guess if you wish for a morally nice genie, that's the perfect wish. Wish a nicer genie that can't grant wishes. Oh yeah. There's always a loophole. You gotta word it just right. My temple and my side. He attacks both my vital spots at the same time. One would even say, at once. I immediately project the twin swords and parry the attacks. But they're broken again. Dashes. My head hurts to the point of blurring my sight. It's not because of the strain of immediate projection. This is that headache. The time travel headache again. The instinct I felt when I was searching for Tosaka. The slight fever I got every time I faced him. That strain now threatens to drive me mad. That you are him when you're trying so desperately to deny it. Slashes! I parry his attacks. I step in and slash at his body. Going on the offense? The red headache burns my eyes every time I do so. Oh, so every time you go on the offense against Archer, the headache gets stronger. What is that suggesting? Suggesting you don't want to kill the future self? You don't want to win even if you think you could? You want him to succeed and beat you? Or does it mean you actually are accepting him as a part of you, and so you're scared to eliminate him because that would mean eliminating yourself, which would mean accepting your own death, which now you're mentally in the place where you maybe want to start denying that? Maybe that's a little too early for that assumption. Is it because of the contradiction that Emiya, Shiro, and Heroic Spirit Emiya are existing at the same time? Just realized we haven't had a choice for quite a while. Yeah, Shiro really is choosing his own destiny. Well, of course, he has to be resolute in his destiny to, you know, not be on the same wavelength as this, Emiya fuck. Ever since we recognize each other's identities, my body breaks every time we touch each other. Ooh. I traced his sword techniques and even his reproduction ability. Okay, so maybe it's just more of a general, you know, when you know it, you're kind of like, ugh. I could see that. But that suggests that you're uncomfortable with it, which suggests character development. I traced his sword techniques, even his reproductive systems, even his reproductive organs. I traced those. It's natural for them to suit me. His abilities are Emiya Shiro's optimal technique, perfected over many years of training. There's no way it would not suit me. I'm trying to match his skill. I allowed myself to learn too much about my future self. I mean, yeah, if you're trying to match his skill but not match his mind state, the more you try to match him, the more you're basically pushing yourself on the path to being him, but you're trying to reject that you're going to be him. So if anything, the correct option, if you're truly trying to reject being him, is to do something he doesn't do and a technique he would never use. Beat him with a technique he's never used. If you can't do that, then I feel you have to accept on some level that he is you, right? Go, go, go. My eyeballs go numb. Every time I swing the sword, every time the sparks fly out, I'm attacked with a flash so strong that it could blind me. Well, that's bad. It's not as bad as, every time you attempt to, make magic at the middle of the night with your training that it could kill you. Blind's not as bad, but, still bad. I'm no match for him. My vision fills with red every time we exchange blows. If that's the worst of it, I don't care. My body is already torn apart. My headache is nothing compared to the burning wound in my stomach. Okay, how burning is it? Is it being cooled a little bit by Avalon, or are we just gonna keep Avalon the whole time? Hey, Archer from the future, do you still have Avalon? Because if you're able to have the pendant, if there's a second copy of a pendant, it should be possible for you to have a second copy of Avalon, which means you could have it while I have it, and also it could just have never been given back to Saber in your timeline. Although you seem to know about Saber's wish, where Shiro from this timeline, if he knows about it, it's only unconsciously because of his knowledge from Timeline 1. Because, she's not telling him. Technically, we don't even know that she's King Arthur. Yeah, maybe he gave it back to Saber in the timeline he's from? Thoughts, ideas. My headache is nothing compared to the burning wound in my stomach. But given how okay he was after Lancer really fucked him up really bad, given how okay he seemed after that, I think he does still have Avalon based on that. But the problem is that the headache won't stop because there's nothing I'm still drawing out from him. There's something I'm still drawing out from him. Brrr. Of course, the headache won't stop as long as you keep vying from him. I assume we'd go straight to the reality marble and fight at full strength from there. I'm surprised we're bothering with the foreplay. I felt like we would skip it and go straight to the marble, but okay, they're gonna draw it out.
都合5本目だな。投影による複製ではそろそろ限界か。お前の魔力量はよくわかっている。そのざまでは残り3本。
That's the fifth one. You should know. You should know that you are nearing your limits of reproduction using projection. I know your magical energy capacity, cause it's mine. You have 3 more. 8. Interesting. His exact potential for it based on his power level. Okay, based on understanding your own power level, or your own energy capacity and how much swords you can do per energy. That's kind of neat. You have 3 more. Even though I showed that to you, you still misunderstand. That? What is that exactly? His scornful voice contains some disappointment. Do you mean the reality marble? Is that why he still misunderstands? Oh, maybe the idea what he's saying is you shouldn't be making new ones each time. You should be storing them and calling upon them or something. And so that's why you're disappointed? Because the whole point of the reality marble is that it gives you far more infinite supply on unlimited as you were, instead of, running out of energy eventually. His scornful voice contains some disappointment. Being disappointed in your past self, as if you're trying to teach me. If, you hated your past self this much, you shouldn't, have any disappointment. It should just be anger, really, right? Misunderstand? I don't care about that. More than anything, I have to do something about this headache right now. Maybe that's why you're misunderstanding. You're misunderstanding how close you are, possibly. Where you're different and where you're the same. By trying to not care, I don't think you're solving anything. I think you should care one way or the other. Definitively care that you're not like him, or definitively care that you are like him. The thing flowing from you. Maybe he is talking about the reality marble. Yeah, probably. Well, it'd be impossible for you even if you arrive at that. It's not enough with the magical energy you can generate right now. Okay, maybe that's why he didn't bother whipping out the reality marble. Maybe because that would, I don't know, but maybe that would help Shiro as well. I assume that it helps both of them, but it helps Archer more in theory. But if it's something where it hurts Shiro more to not have it if he's not using his own version, then I can see Archer not whipping it out. Even if for flair, it would make sense to go straight to it. But
そう。どちらにせよ。
yes, either way. My headache gets worse. He raised his twin swords to finish the match.
貴様に勝算など一部たりともなかったということだ。
You had no chance of victory to begin with. He swings them down and across. The swords I blocked them with are destroyed, so are you down to 3 left now or 2 left? How does counting work? Don't think Archer can even summon the marble with 10% energy power? I don't know. Oh wait, what? Oh, I went to look at reading at an important moment. My body becomes numb as if a hammer has been smashed on it, and the headache finally sears my brain as well as my eyes. Oh shoot, that's an important moment. Shouldn't have looked away. I mean, the reality marble, I don't think Archer would have bothered bringing it up if he can't still do it here in the climactic part here. Unless the idea is, again, that Shiro is going to bond with Archer, and that'll give Archer the energy to re-bring it up, and they bring up the reality marble to help them beat Gilgamesh. Maybe that's the idea, which is all the more reason why Shiro would bond with Archer, or his past self, but whatever. His future self, you know, too many Shiros. But like, I don't think they'd bother being like, oh, Archer's gonna show off this reality marble, and then they do nothing with it the rest of the timeline. I don't see that happening personally, so that's just why I'm like, whip out the reality marble already. Come on, stop keeping it in your pants. The headache finally sears my brain as well as my eyes. It's flowing into me. Oh, the memories maybe? The memories of that version of Shiro? Oh shoot, are we going to get full insight to how that Shiro's life went? That's what the headache is? You're like acclimating, you're getting memories of that version of Shiro. Those memories are flowing into you. And you're seeing maybe exactly how he ended. So, this is scarier than the pain. More than the pain. Seeing how he went out is scary because it might be how you go out. And even if it's not exactly how you go out, it's a version of you. And if it gives you, if it lets you get an understanding of why he is the way he is, that might be the scariest thing of all. Because right now, Shiro's mentality is that he wants to reject future Shiro. So if seeing these memories gives him an understanding of future Shiro, you know, to let him actually go on that wavelength, maybe past Shiro just desperately wants to avoid that. Don't do that. I don't want to accept that that's a possibility. I can see that. This is scarier than the pain. This is his memory. Okay. The reason he changed so much. I can see bits and pieces of what will happen to Emi Shiro in the future. I mean, it's not guaranteed it'll happen in this version of your future, but unless we're working on... I don't know if I want to say it, that's kind of a spoiler, but unless we're working on the logic where there are fixed points... Yeah, let's just give the rough idea of what it is without saying what it's from. Unless we're working on the idea that there's fixed points in the timeline that are destined to happen a certain way, and beyond things changing at an important... Fuck it, I'll use the terms, if you know what I mean, you know what I mean. Beyond things changing at certain, like, attractor fields, at certain important moments in time, the timelines will be roughly the same, in which case, theoretically, Shiro's future could be roughly the same, regardless of which version of Shiro he is. If we're working on such a timeline thing, although if we are, then that implies that... The question is then, from timeline 1 to timeline 2, is that shifting which attractor field we're on? Which, you know, greater timeline we're on? Or is it still within the same greater weave of timelines? in which case that would make sense because the Archer still seems roughly the same in Timeline 1 as he does in Timeline 2. So theoretically, both of those are still in the same greater timeline and heading towards the same destination. If you know what I'm referring to, you know what I'm referring to. But, if it's that method, then yeah, maybe this Shiro is going in basically the same direction, even though it can't really be the same exact Shiro. Anyways, I can see bits and pieces of what will happen to Emi Shiro in the future. I don't know if it was correct or not. Nobody will be able to determine that. The beautiful things were ugly and the other ugly things were beautiful. I don't know if it was correct or not. What do you mean? What do you not know if it was correct? What you're seeing? If it's actually what happened to that Shiro? Is that what you mean? Nobody will be able to determine that. Or do you mean whether or not your choices were correct in the future? Or your choices are correct now? The beautiful things were ugly and the ugly things were beautiful. There's nothing disgusting once you look at it objectively. Oh boy, don't even get me started on objectivity. So why is there such a deviation? Whether what Archer did was correct? Possibly. I mean, it's all still Shiro. There's a few interpretations here, I guess. So why is there such a deviation? Deviation between you Shiro, and future Shiro, you mean? Between what you're feeling and what he's feeling? Sophistry, falsehood, trickery, vanity. Oh, do you mean this is Archer's values versus your values? Like Archer, sophistry, falsehood, trickery, vanity, sophistry. Falsehood, trickery, vanity, that sounds like all things that could be Archer. What is sophistry again? Sophistry? The use of fallacious arguments, especially with the intention of deceiving. Ah, yes, that's an Archer thing. Okay, yeah, I guess that could be what they mean. So past Shiro is admitting that what future Shiro doing isn't necessarily bad, even though I think it is. Killing your past self is not nice. Unless you just mean his mindset. I don't know. Like, he's talking about a specific action, though. Nobody able to determine that. The beautiful things were ugly and the ugly things were beautiful. There's nothing disgusting once you look at it objectively. You mean nothing disgusting with killing your past self? Because, I mean, it's still a version of suicide, right? And that's technically illegal. I don't know if it's illegal in Japan. It's illegal where I'm from, I believe. Why is there such a deviation? Sophistry, falsehood, trickery, vanity. Those are what he saw the most. Oh, he saw those, so he became like that. I see. I am the bone of my sword. But still. Are we going to get a full deep dive flashback, or is Shiro just going to reminisce about this? Give us a full deep dive flashback. That could be so juicy. I want it so bad. It seems he did not care. I suppose it's hard for them to give us a full deep dive flashback because there's a lot of elements they'd have to go over that I feel have no bearing. I don't know. Because assuming it depends on when exactly, because Shiro used the Grail. Well, that's the question though. Because if Shiro wished to become a hero on the Grail, then it would have been during this Grail War, unless it's during the next one. Unless the implication is that during the next Grail War in 30 years, you know, that's the normal time jump. Shiro lives and just participates in that Grail War and then wishes himself to become a hero at the end of that war. That is totally possible, actually. I didn't even think of that until now. It's just 30-year jumps, right? There could be a Grail War 30 years from now, and Shiro could join that Grail War, and then at the end of it, Shiro wishes on the Grail after some big tragic accident. They never state Shiro used the Grail. They only stated he signed a contract with the world. I suppose that's fair. Saber signed a... That's right. Saber signed a contract with the world too, even though she didn't have the Grail. She signed a contract with the world to get the Grail, because of those world contracts. So he technically didn't even need to be involved in anything Grail related. So he could have died at any point when he was kind of later in his life, I suppose. A full deep dive flashback would be fascinating, but I'm doubting they'll do it now the more I think about it. Especially if he's supposed to be a decent amount older. Still, it seems he did not care. There was an ideal and an oath he had to protect. He did not care what he lost to do so. Even when he was betrayed, he believed there would be a next time if he did not betray himself. He did not show grief or pain. In other words, he kept it all bottled up until it all exploded. Steel is my body and fire is my blood. He's like a cold-blooded machine to others. Cold-blooded with fire blood? That's an interesting form of fire. He was a convenient existence, so he was conveniently used. Yeah, I can see that. Always the goody-goody, helping others, never caring about himself. No self-care. Very easy to be manipulated, for sure. He was only a tool in other people's eyes. But the machine had an ideal it wanted to protect, so it accepted its role as a convenient tool. Now you're accepting yourself as basically just a machine, not even living, which I can see, because you, in a sense, feel like you died in the fire, and you're kind of just a walking corpse now, doing things, to make up for the fact that you couldn't save anyone in the fire. It accepted its role as a convenient tool. I have created over 1,000 blades. A sword, one might say. Yeah. Unknown to death, nor known to life. It's not something to go around proclaiming. The more he kills and the more he's unable to save, the less he can talk about his ideal. The only thing left for him is to obstinately protect his ideal until the very end. And the result, the ideal Emiyashiro dreamed of, has never been accomplished. He was only a sheath for Saber, but a sword for everyone else. Yeah. Maybe that's why his relationship with Saber is so healthy, because she got to be the sword in the relationship, as it were. Instead of him being the tool for others, she actually let herself be a tool for him, which is very healthy for him. And yet, this future Shiro already clearly knows about Saber and her wish and all that junk. So, assumedly, he also, had Saber, so he still had that relationship, just never got it fully realized, I suppose. Maybe that's why Thailand 1 Shiro loved her so much. Maybe there's some of that there, for sure. I think there's a lot of layers to that relationship between the two of them, for sure. But, at first, he tried to deny very hard that she would be his weapon. He was like, no, I want to be your weapon, because Shiro always wants to be everyone's weapon. But then once she's like, no, I'll be the weapon, that might be why he fell even more in love with her, that he actually allowed someone to be his weapon instead of the other way around, because that gives himself meaning. If someone is fighting on his behalf, then his behalf suddenly matters. So, her becoming a tool for the world would certainly make him cynical. Yeah, I guess that was Saber's ultimate wish. So if her greedy, dumb wish became true, that would make him even more cynical if Shiro lived through a timeline where they won and then she just got her wish. Although, she could potentially get her wish, but it would cause ramifications in theory, because the whole point is that the Grail is grody. If she doesn't know that, though, she might make that wish anyways. And then she could do it, but then grody stuff would happen? Possibly. Although no, because in theory, if she gets her wish... Well, it's debatable. Because if she gets her wish, then she erases, at the very least, her legend from existence. Even if she doesn't erase herself entirely from the timeline, the legend of her being King Arthur and us knowing, oh yeah, that's King Arthur, would disappear. But we seem to still know it. So I don't think there is a timeline out there, at least yet, if we're to, at least we're not on an attractor field, where Saber has succeeded in undoing herself. I don't believe, even if such a universe does exist out there in the Fate multiverse of timelines. The ideal Emiyashiro dreamed of has never been accomplished. And he found out that it's just nonsense dreamed by a fool who is only a nuisance to others. Have withstood pain to create many weapons. Okay, so yeah, he was actually quite a bit older when he died and made this thing on the Grail. This wish on the world, as it were. I guess in my mind for a while, I guess I haven't been fully thinking about it, but I was thinking, well, he had to wish on the Grail, so it should have been during the course of this war, right? So the end of the war, but no, I guess it makes sense that if he's a hero, he had many years to train, because, you know, once he becomes a servant, he keeps getting amnesia each time he's summoned, so it makes sense he would get to grow up a bit before that happens. Fair, fair, fair. The idea, though, that he actually did participate in another Grail War that just happens 30 years later is an interesting thought experiment, because, you know, he would actually not be at the worst age possible. I mean, he'd be a little bit past his prime, but, because he's like, what, 16 or something, so he'd be 40s, which is, you know, a bit past your prime, but still doable. Have withstood pain to create many weapons. I assume, based on his looks, that Archer died in his 30s, but... Oh boy! See, this is the end. Oh, we actually get to see it. Ooh. It looks like all of his weapons stabbed into him, basically. He ultimately got betrayed. Or no, he got executed. Because some big crime happened. Are they going to elaborate on that? And he got blamed for it? So he was executed. Are they just going to be vague about it? Or are they going to go in depth? I wonder. But used to the end. I can certainly understand it, even if they don't fully explain it, but... yeah, that's sad. And yet he was smiling at the end. And Rin saw this. Rin saw this and saw he was smiling. He didn't care. He was content. He thought, my ideal worked. I helped as many people as I could, and I'll help more when I wish on the Grail and all that, and I become a servant. See, this is your end. Dash. My mind gives in. Oh no. No! You have to stay strong like Shadow the Hedgehog! Oh boy. I don't want to talk too much about that, I guess, but in fact, I don't want to talk any more about that I've already talked about. But you gotta stay strong! My mind gives in. Even if the world turns against you, you shouldn't turn your back on the world. I mean, maybe you should actually pay more attention to the world, but it doesn't mean you turn your back on them. I won't feel compassion. After all, if you turn your back on them, that's giving them a perfect opportunity to stab you in the back. My mind gives in. I won't feel compassion. Oh no, you're acclimating your mindset. As you see his past, you're giving in that this is your future. And you're like, oh no, this is the bad timeline. My mind gives in. I won't feel compassion. What pulls you out of it then? I won't feel compassion. For your future self? Or for people in general? I won't feel compassion. I won't feel compassion, but... my mind almost gives in, thinking that I'll be following this exact path. Oh, you mean compassion for your future self, I guess. Based on the way this is worded, that's what I believe you mean? Yes. Those hands will never hold anything. These hands? No, he said those. What you believed in. What you believe in. You're shown that it is just a fantasy that is covered with lies, and still, Whoa! What the fuck? What's happening? There was a thing that went flying! Gaybolg? Or, no. Maybe? No, Lancer's gone, right? Is Saber doing something? No. Gilgamesh is Gaybolg. What's happening? His weapon closes in. A horn-like sword comes to pierce my heart. Oh, is he using the bone sword? Yeah, that didn't look like Kancho and Bakuya. That looked like a bone sword if I've ever seen one. Goo goo goo! I get away. You're not giving in. Don't give in, Shiro. Your name's not Shinji, but you mustn't run away. Or you mustn't turn away. Or you mustn't accept that bad end is the only answer. I think you can accept that this future Shiro is redeemable while also accepting that he is the wrong end, as it were. I don't know if he's fully redeemable, but at the very least, in the moment he is. Because it's going to be so sad if he has to continue being a heroic spirit who's just sad all the time. Maybe if we do something happy for him here, even because his body remembers, maybe his body will remember and he'll become a bit better as a heroic spirit. Unless, again, if we can shift to a completely different attractor field, I don't know how Fate's timelines work, where this version of Archer just doesn't exist anymore, where he's not all sad and cynical. That would be nice. Otherwise, we need this version to become happier if we can't just erase it from the multiverse. Or, we just have a sad ending where that Shiro continues being sad, which would be sad because I like Archer Shiro. Anyways, I get away. I have my hands the twin swords I quickly projected. So, I like Archer Shiro. Now let's go back to not dying against him. Gotta respect Shiro's voice actor for the heavy breathing. He's so good at making noises with his mouth. The breathing and the panting and the bleeding. Shiro just does injured so well. Good job. I forced down my nausea. What was I seeing? Forget it. Forget what you just saw. Ooh, you're trying to ignore it. I don't think that's the right answer. You need to defeat him. You should focus everything on that goal. If you defeat him, you're just being ignorant. If you defeat him accepting that it'll never turn out that way, that is accepting that it will exactly turn out that way. There's no development there. I guess it's a miscalculation.
前世の自分を考慮、憑依させることで、かつての技術を習得する魔術があると聞くが、俺と打ち合うたびに、お前の技術は鍛えられていくようだな。
I've heard of magic that lets you acquire skills from the past by possessing yourself with a previous self. Eh? It seems your skills improve the more you fight me. Yeah, I bleed through. That makes sense to me, to an extent. But hold on, I've heard of magic that lets you acquire skills from the past by possessing yourself with a previous self? But he's not possessing himself with a previous self. If anything, he's forcing you to possess him to get your future self possession. Anyways. My shoulder's heaving. I prepare myself for his attack.
となると、引き出したものは投影技術だけではあるまい。その顔、今にも吐きそうな最低の面構えからすると。
Then my projection shouldn't be the only thing you got from me. That face. Seeing that nasty face of yours. You saw it too? How I died? If you forgot how to sword, you can memorize it again. Just by coming in contact with your future self. It's like shadow clones. When you dispel your shadow clone, you gain all of your shadow clone's memories. So all I need to do is kill you, future Shiro, and then I'll gain all of your memories. Sure, that's how it works. Dashes. My breathing stops. Don't let me say it. Don't let me recall it. If you say what I just saw,
ならば話は早い。それはすべて事実だ。
Then it's simple. It's all true, Emiya Shiro! His red cloak moves. He closes in on me in an instant and thrusts the horn sword. I see. With the realization that I guess I was kind of ignoring that Shiro, yeah, does just live out like 30 more years or something like that, and then dies when he looks. He gets a tan, and his hair goes white from stress, I suppose. Just naturally, sure, whatever. It's not a heroic spirit flare. He actually does genuinely look like that when he dies. So I can see more merit in Archer killing this past version of himself. You know, if he thinks on some level, at least in this timeline, people will have a happier ending because he won't mess shit up, even if he continues to be a servant. So I can see him doing it even for such a small petty reason. In a way, he could be saving people with that, potentially. He closes in on me in an instant and thrusts the horn sword. You gotta project that too, Shiro, come on! Are you waiting to timeline 3 or what? It's destroyed in one blow. The sword or the sword you made? There's no way a hastily constructed sword and a first attempt at that would match his sword. Oh, you mean you tried to create the bone sword just now. I understand. But, even though I'm empty-handed, he throws away his sword. He doesn't think he needs it. He's gonna beat me without it, like an awesome cool guy. He projects Durandal, the renowned sword of the king. Oh, fuck, Durandal! I know that one from my weapon list. Durandal. That's a weapon that normally Gilgamesh pulls out. Why do you say question mark still? We know it's from Gilgamesh. I guess the argument is that they're from someone else initially and Gilgamesh is a cheater, so they don't count against Gilgamesh's, but... Yeah, holy sword favored by Roland the Paladin of Middle Age Europe. The King Charlemagne was granted the sword by an angel and awarded it to Roland, the honored leader of the 12 Knights. It holds 3 miracles and does not lose its sharpness even when its possessor's magical energy is depleted. Light Caliburn is a symbol of power and splendidly made. I know, Roland, because Fire Emblem. If I know anything fancy, it's probably because of Fire Emblem. The renowned sword of the king. I also know Durandal. I know Durandal from a couple of things. It's not just from Fire Emblem. Wait. Do I even know a Durandal from Fire Emblem? I know it from something else. Do I know one from Fire Emblem? Wait, of course I do. Because Durandal comes from Roland. I'm stupid. Yes, I do. I remembered Roland and then I had to stop myself. Wait. I know a couple Durandals. Anyways, he projects Durandal, the renowned sword of the king. Oh shoot, did you project Durandal too? I skip about 4 steps to quickly reproduce his weapon. Oh shoot, you're really going at it with these high-level reproductions. The more you do it, the more you'll hurt yourself, but also the stronger you'll get, but also the more you'll become like him. If all you ever do is copy him, I don't think you can ever win. But maybe you never should win if you can just beat him with your words. If you're not going to beat him with your words, you need to do something he doesn't do, I think. But of course, such an imitation is destroyed in one blow. Oh, fuck. Dashes. I fall. I'm repelled, and I land with my back on the rubble. Oh! So I was wondering how they were going to do this fight and make it last, given that this Shiro should be definitely outmatched. And the answer is they're going to interleave it with flashbacks of that version of Archer, which I'm down for, but I was wondering if it was going to be more involved in the actual fighting aspect. Seems not like it. Seems like this version of Shiro's just getting his ass kicked, which is fine if he can eventually pull through and win a moral emotional victory. Cool! That surprises me. The rubble turns red just by having me fall on top of it. That's just how badly you're bleeding. Oh boy. Sparks are really flying in your mana circuit systems. Oh. I already know, but it seems my body is almost dead, outside and inside. You're just rejecting it deeply. Probably a combination of Avalon and syncing with Archer that's making you not realize how dead this version of you is. This is it.
叶わないと知ってなおここに現れる愚かさ。生涯くだらぬ理想にとらわれ、 自らの意志を持たなかったまがいもの。
Your foolishness for coming here when you know you won't be a match. A mindless imitation, imprisoned by a stupid ideal. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what he did. He came here when he expected to not be a match. And all he's been doing is creating copies, as if he's already accepted it. I said this. I think he's already accepted losing, and he needs to unaccept it. Unaccept that, Shiro. Get past your death wish. Don't let him kill you here.
それが自身の正体だと理解したか？
Do you understand that those are your true identity? I think for now he does. That's definitely the course he's taking. So what will sway him? Will we need someone like Rin or Saber to chime in and say something? Or is he naturally going to come to his own conclusions based on the circumstances that have led him to be different in the first place? Dash dash. His voice echoes. My body is covered with wounds. It's bad how the wounds are so deep that I can reach inside them. Oh yeah, that's very bad.
そんなものに生きている価値はない。
There is no value in such a life. I mean, from the start, Shiro didn't value his life much, but he had his ideal. Because of his ideal, he's like, I can save people. That gives my life value. But future Shiro accepting that ideal as a sham is like, the life no longer has value. I can understand the argument, but past Shiro, just accept that your life has value, and then bam, easy peasy.
何よりこの俺が確信しているのだ。
I'm
エミヤシ
sure
ロ
of
という
it.
男の人生に価値などない。
There is no value in Emiya Shiro's life.
ただ救いたいから救うなど、そもそも感情として間違えている。人間として故障したお前は、初めからあってはならない偽物だった。
Of course, you call him a fake, even though Gilgamesh called you a faker. I wonder if the word's fresh on your mind because Gilly said it, and you're projecting? It is wrong to save just because you want to save. But is that the fake? Is the rejecting of wanting to save, is that part the real faker part, is the question. Are you still salvageable in that degree? And I think you are, to a vague extent. But will it ultimately matter if you're just going to be an echo that goes back and gives some vague experience to the spirit of you that keeps getting summoned? It is wrong to save just because you want to save. You are a fake that should have never existed, as you are broken as a human being. That cuts deep, but yeah. Sure, he's broken, but you can fix broken things. You can put them back together. Shiro does it all the time with actual broken objects. He just needs to learn how to fix himself. Dashes. My magical energy is almost depleted. It really seems like we're going to a head with Shiro's development, but what about Rin? I feel like there's still some issues she has. I wonder if those are actually going to be covered more in Timeline 3, when Shiro is more confident in himself. Or if we're going to actually take a bit of a beat after the Shiro Archer fight, before having the big Gilgamesh fight, and then we can go a little bit into Rin's issues, and possibly touch a bit more on the fact that Kirei killed her daddy, and she's kind of upset about that? Maybe. My magical energy is almost depleted. Not only that, the magic circuit to run the magical energy is burned up. No, if I talk about it burning up, it burned up yesterday when I used projection. Ooh, yesterday. How long ago was that at this point? It's all blurring together. It's just that an almost broken thing completely broke. Even broken things can be fixed. In fact, if anything, I think it's good that you completely broke. Because if it's almost broken, you might still just try to keep relying on the thing holding itself together. But once it's fully broken, you actually have to try and fix it. That's an analogy that really actually applies to some things in the real world. People get apathetic about things that, oh, they still technically work, even if they're kind of shaky, and they have to do something once it actually breaks. But when it breaks, it could be a terrible break that would have been easier to fix if you did it while it was only partially broken. Reminds me of a joke where a dude is depressed and the doctor tells him of a legendary clown that can make anyone laugh. But the dude said, "But doctor, I am that clown." I know that joke, yeah. Yeah, sometimes, just because you can make other people laugh doesn't mean you can make yourself laugh. Just because you can save other people doesn't mean you can save yourself, etc., etc. My body is telling me I can still fight. Oh, despite being broken? Maybe you're not fully broken after all. My mind bluffs itself, saying that it is not given in. No. Then, I have to get up and defeat him.
無駄なことを。俺はお前の理想だ。叶うはずなどないと、今ので理解できたはずだが。
It's useless. I am your ideal. You should realize that you cannot match me. Breathing. I focus the last of my will on the magic circuit. Focus. 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 Exclamation point! My split nerves scream. But I carefully put together the 8 steps.
Trace off.
Trace off? Have we ever heard that before? I project his twin swords. By tracing off? What do you mean? Tracing off of the thing you've already traced on? Kancho and Bakuya, 2 great swords named after an ancient swordsmith. Okay, if we've ever heard trace off before, I don't remember. Screaming. I swing them. It's Mudada. This approach, at least, I will agree, is Mudada, Shiro. I keep attacking until my remaining energy runs out. My twin swords are met by twin swords. Archer now holds Kancho and Bakuya and parries my attacks without retreating. Unlike you.
認めるわけにはいかないのは道理だな。
When you were retreating, when you were defending, you had to retreat, but he does not have to. You also were injured when you were defending. I see. It's natural if you do not accept it. Indeed it is, because you, Archer, took forever to accept it when you were Shiro, so you should be able to relate to his stubborn nature. Tracing and projecting are different things. If he's tracing off when he projects, he's never said trace off before when he projects. So, this is the first time he's ever said trace off. Does that make his projecting better? If so, did he ever get taught to say trace off when he projects? Because that's the first time he's done it, to my knowledge. I don't know. I see. It's natural if you do not accept it.
俺がお前の理想である限り、エミやシロは誰よりも俺を否定しなければならない。
As I am your ideal, Emi Ashiro must not accept me more than anyone. His calm tone pisses me off. You hate it when he's right? I can't even breathe, but he is calm and composed. Damn it! I attack with all my energy. Damn. He does not parry my attacks, but pushes them back. Ooh, not even enough respect to parry. Ooh, that looked like a bunch of slash wounds. I'm pushed back along with my twin swords. The difference in our powers is obvious. There's no way for me to win with pure strength.
Then
let me ask you, Shiro.
お前は本当に正義の味方になりたいと思っているの?
Do you really want to be a superhero? I think the answer should be no. Shiro can have a healthier future without answering yes to this question. I thought he said trace off because he knows he doesn't have any energy to project anything anymore. No need to waste time energy tracing, so he turned it off. Oh. He's not tracing, but he's still... I don't get it. So are you saying that he's making the swords without projecting? Or he's not tracing because he already knows how to trace, so he's just making even worse imitations? It's not been explained to me, game. Where's the exposition? Do you really want to be a superhero? Dashes. For an instant. Oh! My mind blanks out from the surprise attack. The surprise attack of his actual attack or his words?
何を今さら俺はなりたいんじゃなくて絶対になるんだよ
Oh no. What? I don't want to become one. I'm going to become one. I don't think that's a healthy mindset, Shiro, because it's exactly the stubborn mindset that led, exactly where he was going. Before I thought, oh, you're resolute in not being like him. That's good. But the further we go, I'm like, no, this resoluteness is the problem. I think you do need to accept this future version before you can accept how to be different. Oh. By just rejecting, I don't think you're solving anything. I glare back at him. Then...
そう絶対にならなければならない
Yes, you need to become a superhero. Ooh, are we going to get to the heart of his issues?
なぜならそれはエミやシローにとってただ一つの感情だからだ
There it is.
逆らうことも否定することもできない感情
Because that is your only emotion. An emotion you can either betray or to die. Because without that, you're nothing. So he has to hold on to that dearly. Yup, there it is. That's why he has to not say that he can't be a superhero. It's been his only goal the whole time. Ever since he was saved from the fire, the only thing that mattered was, leeching off of Kiritsugu's, ideal, because it was something to do with his life. He still hasn't even accepted the idea that there could be other paths for him. To him, that's the only one. He needs to broaden his horizons. That's the goal here, I think. Except that there are other avenues.
たとえそれが自身の内から現れたものでないとしても
Even if that wish is not born from within you. He stops me with words that grab my heart. What? Not born from within me? I deny them even before I think about what those words mean. I can't let him finish. I can't realize that fact. I think you've already realized it if this is what your inner monologue is like, Shiro. If I find out, Emiya Shiro's foundation will crumble.
ほうその様子ではうすうす感づいてはいたようだな
Oh, it seems you do have a vague idea of it. And it seems you, future Shiro, showing your real hand. You're not bothering to going for a straight kill to make yourself feel better. You're going out of your way to preach and trying to get through to this version of Shiro. Saying that you want to kill him is you just lying to yourself, if anything. It's all emotional. You want to kill him because of your emotional state, but you also want to explain to him why he's so stupid because of your emotional state. It's like, you want him to die, but you also want him to be better. You don't think he can be better, so you want him to die, but it'd be great if he could be better. There's a conflict in you, future Shiro, as well. It seems you have a vague idea of it.
いや初めから気づいていてそれを必死に遠ざけていただけだ
No, you knew it, but you tried your best
思い出すことさえできないが
to keep that fact from yourself. I cannot even remember now. Remember how long you were denying it, or remember when you realized it? I start to say before I stop myself. I don't want to know. I know that I shouldn't know. But still, I know that I must know. The contradiction of Emiya Shiro. The answer to what is wrong with me, and how I am distorted.
俺にはもはやお前の記憶などない
I do not have your memory anymore.
だがそれでもあの光景だけは覚えている一面の炎と充満した死の匂い 絶望の中で助けを請い叶えられた時の感情。
But I still
エ
remember
ミや
that
キーツブと
scene.
いう男の俺を助け出した時に見せた
The flame filling my vision, and the smell of death. The request for help, and how I felt when it was granted. The look of relief on Emiya Kiritsugu's face when he saved me. Yeah, that look. Talked about this a long time ago in Timeline 1, but that look, I think that look is really what made Shiro what he is today. That look of satisfaction that Kiritsugu had when saving Shiro. Now Shiro's life, he basically accepted death in the fire. And there was nothing left for him. But when he saw that look of satisfaction that Kiritsugu had, Shiro's like, that's how I can give my life meaning again. I can get the same satisfaction he gets. But I don't think you can, Shiro. I don't think you can. I realized that it is natural to die, and my mind emptied out. I was saved at that time. The man who saved me smiled with tears in his eyes. That is what I thought was beautiful.
そうだ。お前はただ一人助けられたことで、助けられなかった人々に後ろめたさを感じていたわけじゃない。
That's right. It's not that you felt guilty for being the only one saved.
ただ、エミやキリツグに憧れただけだ。
You just admired Kiritsugu.
あの男のお前を助けた顔があまりにも幸せそうだったから、
There it
自分
is.
もそうなりたいと思っただけ。
You wanted to become like him only because he looked so happy when he saved you. That's right. Yeah, we're Timeline 2. We got over the survivor's guilt. Yeah, in Timeline 1, you know, he was still shaky about that to an extent. But, this really was the crux of the main issue from the start, I'd argue. And I did argue in the past, and it seems like we're coming to that now. It's not me that got saved at that time. It's an assumption I did not even think about. It's not me that got saved at that time, because the past version of you let die. That's why you never bother about thinking from anything from before the fire. Never, ever, ever. It's always only post-fire with you, because, you know, whoever you were before, whatever last name you had, died already. It's an assumption I did not even think about. If that fire was Kiritsugu's fault, he shouldn't have been able to bear that fact. That fire being Kiritsugu's fault. Do you know that in this timeline? Wait, what? Is this timeline knowledge? He learned that in timeline 1, I think, right? But I don't believe they've brought that up in this timeline, right? Remind me if I'm wrong. This is timeline knowledge, right? He shouldn't know that in timeline 2, right? Maybe Archer knew it? Oh. And that's why it's bleeding into Shiro? Maybe. If that fire was Kiritsugu's fault, he shouldn't have been able to bear that fact. But that's because, despite all the sacrifices, saving someone, anyone, he was always, you know, glass half full. He hated that it happened, but once it happened, his focus is, okay, save as many people as possible. You know, he can feel bad about it, sure, but he can still feel, you know, about the fire being kind of his fault. But the happiness of saving someone outweighs that for someone like Kiritsugu. And I don't think the same is true for Shiro. A tragedy without any survivors. Kiritsugu, the one who caused it, must have frantically searched for a survivor. Yeah, okay. Either he's getting this knowledge from Archer, or he's getting it from Timeline Wymlime shenanigans because of Timeline 1 to Timeline 2 carryover. Because he did not learn that in this timeline. That's a thing Kirei told him during their confrontation, I believe. Something along those lines. So he shouldn't know that, but he does. Okay. Must have frantically searched for a survivor. And he finally found a survivor that should not have existed. Because he had already in his mind let himself die. He had accepted death. The man found a surviving child that could not be saved. If you talk about miracles, it's dash dash dash, the opposite. Instead of finding someone who actually was happy to be saved, you found someone who just wanted to die. But I knew about that already. I don't care about his circumstances. It was enough for me that he got me out of that hell. I knew about that already? You did? Because of your Timeline 1 knowledge? Or did you somehow already know because of some other shenanigans going on with you, Shiro? What's up with you, Shiro? Is there some other plot twist waiting for you about you in Timeline 3 that goes deeper than your Archer connection? It was enough for me that he got me out of that hell. Even if it may have been for himself, it's true that he tried to save me and wished for my survival. That's enough. Emiya Kiritsugu saved a boy who had nothing. So?
そう。子が親に憧れるのは当然だ。だが、お前はそれが行き過ぎた。
Yes. It's natural for a child to admire his parent, but you went too far.
エミヤキリツグに、エミヤキリツグがなりたかったものに憧れるだけならよかった。
It would have been fine if you just admired what Emiya Kiritsugu wanted to become.
だが、最後に奴はお前に呪いを残した。言うまでもないだろう。それがお前の全てだと言ってもいい。
But he left you a curse at the very end. I do not even need to say it right. That is everything for you. You took on his dream. Biggest mistake?
じいさんの夢は
I'll make you dream. That's the answer. Hearing my casual remark, he left the words, I'm relieved behind him, and then the man who is emptier even than me died. He was relieved because I said I'd do it. And that is the anchor that's been forcing Shiro to accept no matter anything that gets against him. He has to keep going that path because he wants the relief that Kiritsugu felt at that moment to not be betrayed. At that moment, Emiya Shiro had to become a superhero. My will does not matter. For his sake, I simply tried to become what he had admired since he was small. The wish for everyone to be happy is an impossibility dreamed not by me, but by Emiya Kiritsugu. You should know, Shiro.
お前の理想はただの借り物だ。エミヤキリツグという男がなりたかったもの、エミヤキリツグが正しいと信じたものを
Your
真似
ideal
ているだけに過ぎない。
is borrowed. You're only imitating what Emiya Kiritsugu wanted to become, what Emiya Kiritsugu thought was right. So it's only fitting that he also imitates when he fights, imitating all the swords and stuff when he sword births. That is... I grit my teeth, desperately trying to resist my mind that is about to give in. But...
正義の味方だと笑わせるな。
A superhero? Don't make me laugh.
誰かのためになるとそう繰り返し続けたお前の思いは決して自ら生み出されたものではない。
Over and over you said you wanted to help people, but that wish is not your own.
そんな男が他人の助けになるなどと
You're
思い上がりも
conceited
甚だしい。
to think that such a man could help anyone. He attacks with his swords. With the weight of his contempt behind him, the twin swords are swung more strongly than ever before. Ooh, fancy. seeing those raging swords. I accept my own death just as I did 10 years ago. Oh boy, I feel like you accepted it the moment you were already walking to the castle. So does Rin have to save you? Does someone have to pull you out of this? I'm okay if someone steps in to save him, but I feel like past Shiro should be the one to save future Shiro. The force comes smashing down. There is no elegance in those attacks, and they are executed only using his strength. Yeah, he's too lost in his own melancholy to have any strategy at this point, I'm sure. My left arm shakes from blocking the attack. My fingers that hold on to the sword break. The sword I made using all my remaining power is bent back by one blow. Dashes. I'm dead. I'm on the verge of death from the first blow, so there's no way I'll be able to block the next attack. Then maybe that's what you need? If you're on the verge of death again, if you accept that you're dead again, and someone else saves you, and wants you to live for yourself, and actually says that, say, Rin, I don't know, then maybe you'll be forced to accept that, and then you can start developing. That could be okay, again, so long as I feel like you have to be the one to get through to future Shiro. If someone else gets through to future Shiro as well, I think that takes away from the moment, but we'll see. Oh. Oh? But still? Oh? Or are you going to save yourself still? Because that's still what I want the most, I think, for past Shiro to succeed without any outside help. My mind is about to give in, but my body denies it with all its might. It's telling me I'm wrong. It appeals to me, saying it's wrong to give in to his words and die here. Maybe that part that's telling you it's wrong is the part, relation to people like Saber and Rin that have given you, a reason to laugh, as it were. I raise my head. My eyes aren't functioning. That hill looks like Saber's hill, right? They don't see the enemy, but show his memories. Those are his memories? Oh, but they're also your memories. His memories of Saber's memories? I don't know. That looks like Saber's hill. In them, I see myself curling up and desperately trying to live. I guess they're just reusing this hill and saying, it's Shiro's hill too. They did say he died on a hill too. Something like that. The incident was on a hill, same as with Saber, but I didn't think they'd reuse the hill, because I'm pretty sure it's the same hill. The echoing of the swords isn't all I hear. He curses himself every time he attacks. Is it parallels, or is it lazy? You decide. That's right. I admired his desire to save people because it's beautiful! Oh, gotta save that image. That image is pretty beautiful. That's a choice. I'll take that. Kiritsugu. So beautiful. But also a curse. I am out of water, and I slightly have to pee. We've been going for a decent while. I don't want to intermission, but given that we have a CG anyway and I already saved, I really do want to go straight through, but I do have to pee. I'm out of water, so sure, let's intermission here. If we're going to intermission at some point, I guess we're doing it now. Yeah, that's CG. Of Archer pulling his mask down fully. saying I instead of Shiro. Ah. Hiritsugu uwu. That feeling when you go buy ice cream, and by the time you come back home, half of it is in the bag is melted? F for sure. That's even sadder than what's going on right now in the visual novel. Wow. Rip ice cream. That's right. I admired his desire to save people because it's beautiful. Yeah, until now. He's just been saying, you dumb Shiro, you admire. But now he's giving in and relating himself, just like past Shiro is slowly relating himself. And he's getting, fully to the point of giving in, just as future Shiro is giving in too, and, calling himself one and the same. I admired his desire to save people because it's beautiful. I blocked the oncoming attack. No sound effect. Ooh. I can see it. I understand the stylistic choice. Bakuyo is destroyed. All I have left is Kansho in my left hand.
故に自身からこぼれ落ちた気持ちなどない。これを偽善と言わず何という。
But none of that feeling is my own. What else can you call it but hypocrisy? Kansho is bent, and its existence is fading. My heart is hurting. Not because of his attacks. His words slash at my heart. I mean, Avalon's pretty much helping on my wounds. They're doing actually okay. They're not bad. But your will, Avalon is tied to your will in some way. It's clear. So, as your will to live subsides, Avalon's strength will subside. Subside? Yeah.
この身は誰かのためにならなければならないと脅迫観念に突き動かされてきた。
I was driven by my obsessive need to help someone.
それが苦痛だと思うことも破綻していると気づく間もなく
I
た
kept
だ走り
running,
続けた。
neither noticing the pain, nor how wrong I was. He keeps on denying himself. He keeps on? Or are you referring to yourself as a he now? Are you now referring to yourself as future Shiro as if you are the he? Or are you saying he's denying yourself as in he's denying this past Shiro now? And you're saying you are himself then. He, Archer, is denying himself, which is you? Fair. My heart tries to give up every time I hear him. My body wants to succumb to the force of his attacks. But still, that same body keeps desperately denying him. He keeps on denying himself. That same body keeps desperately denying him. So are you still referring to yourself as you, but you called yourself he for a second? As if you did put yourself in the mentality of future Shiro for a moment. Or, mistranslation, or I'm reading into that wrong, but whatever.
だが、所詮は偽物だ。そんな偽善では何も救えない。
But it's all a fake. Such hypocrisy cannot save anything.
いいな。もとより何を救うべきかも定まらない。
No. First of all, I didn't know what I wanted to save. I'm smashed away. An attack as strong as one of Berserker's easily flings away Emiyashiro's body. As strong as Berserker's, and yet he's at a tenth of his strength, theoretically, and shouldn't even be as physically strong as Berserker? Woof. Or does it feel that strong only because the words are that strong? Dashes. If he was really going all out, you'd be dead by now, I'd say. But he's not been truly going all out because he's just taking out his emotions, as it were. He is I, and you is he, and I, you, he, and he. Quite Tom's Fool. And Tom's Tom, whichever you prefer. But I still hold my ground. I frantically endure the attack coming down at me. I will not be able to get back up if I fall down. So my body refuses to let me fall. I thrust the rapidly fading Kansho into the ground and lean on it. My body sags forward, and I cannot even stand upright. I use Kensho as a cane and hold up my falling body with my arms. I must look pitiful. But to who is looking? Well, Saber's looking, I suppose. And she's just still taking it all in. I might look as if I'm kneeling down and begging him. Interesting. I use Kensho as a cane and hold up my falling body with my arms. That reminds me of when Saber first fought Berserker in Timeline 1, and she was getting her butt kicked. That one image of her on her sword, using it as a crutch, kind of. That image is sort of in my mind as I think of what Shiro would look like in this position. I might look as if I'm kneeling down and begging him.
その理想は破綻している。
That ideal is a failure.
自身より他人が大切だという考え、誰もが幸福であってほしい願いなど、空想のおとぎ話だ。
The ideal that everyone else is more important than yourself, the wish for everyone to be happy, is all just fantasy.
そんな夢を抱いてしか生きられないのであれば、抱いたまま溺死しろ。
If you can only live by holding on to that ideal, drown in your ideals. If you can only live by holding on to that ideal, Archer? Is that a question? Because I but want to believe that past Shiro can find a different something to hold on to. He doesn't need to just stick to that ideal to live. And I think on some level you think too, or you wouldn't be wasting your time, you wouldn't be mincing your words, you would just, let your emotions fully take in as you carve into this disgusting past version of yourself that has no hope. I think the fact that you're taking time to exposition shows that you believe he has hope. Yeah, he explains the phrase, drown in your ideals and die, indeed. He says that. There is no value in living. No, in my life and self. No, he's not saying that. You're saying that. If you accept that going after that ideal is the only way for you to live, then that's you accepting that your life has no value. You're the only one putting that on yourself, Shiro. Accept that it has value, dang it! Ellipses. If you are accepting that you has no value, then yeah, I agree. Future Shiro should just have at it and kill you to make himself feel better. If your life course is inevitably basically the same. My weapon is about to disappear, and there's little point in trying to keep my body from falling. In contrast, he isn't even scratched. The match is decided. No, the match has been decided from the start. I was about to say that, but I didn't bother. I was pretty sure the game would cover it. There's no way for Emiya Shiro to beat Heroic Spirit Shiro. Or Emiya, as it were. Not with actual, you can't possibly beat him with strength. The only way you could ever potentially beat him is with words. But if this is really your mind state, Shiro, then you're not going to beat him with words either. But that is a mistake. No, there's something in him that's a little different. Otherwise, you wouldn't be constantly thinking, you wouldn't be doubting, you wouldn't be denying. I mean, you'd be denying him, but you wouldn't be denying that you don't deny. Anyways, if the difference in our power was large, the fight wouldn't have turned out like this. Oh, is this the smart version of Shiro coming out and being like, wait a second, he should have beaten me easily? Yes, I agree. He should have beaten you easily. He's been holding back. Because I think his real goal wasn't even necessarily... I think deep down, he's still an idealistic idiot. He's still an idealistic fool, you could say. Like, if you don't develop, if you don't change, he'll just kill you. And I couldn't even blame him for it. But if you can accept here and now that there is a possible different path, he might, be swayed. He might want to be swayed. If the difference in our powers was large, the fight wouldn't have turned out like this. It is my mind that lost. My mind was weak because I realized that I am wrong and that he is right. That was my only failure. If you really think you're wrong, then I guess you have lost. Or rather, if you think he's right. Or rather, if you think this means you're a fail. Anyways. Because. Shut up.
何
What? Because my body has been telling me I will not lose to you. Are you thinking all along that you could win, but you've been letting yourself lose because you think, emotionally you've lost, as it were? Which means if you could just have an emotional drive to win, then you could physically win? That's debatable. If you have the emotional drive to win, he might just let you win anyways, but he also might just be holding back, so you probably are both holding back. Why? Why did power enter my body every time he cursed my ideal as a fake?
ふざけんな根性
Shut up, damn it! Dashes. I'll reach it. I'll definitely reach it. If parts of me are broken, then I just need to use the parts that aren't. Or fix the broken parts? Sure, the ideal is beautiful, but, he'll have to make it his own in some way. Which is something I thought they might be going towards, but I still think the idea of accepting that he's not a superhero is a more interesting turn for a protagonist. One that starts being like, I want to be a hero, and ends on, I'll be a good person, but a hero's not for me, I think would be a more interesting development for a protagonist. But if it's just, I will be a superhero, but I'll just do it in a more correct path, then I guess that's fine too. If parts of me are broken, then I just need to use the parts that aren't. If everything I have is broken, then use the parts I don't have. Oh? Maybe that's timeline 3, accepting he doesn't want to be a hero? In my mind, though, that's how he beats this version of Shiro. Or rather, that's how this Shiro accepts him, accepting that there's value to his life, to me, is what's more important than being like, no, my ideal wasn't wrong. Because if you win by saying, wait, there's other ways for the ideal to be right, then that's still just saying, my life doesn't have value. But I'm smarter about the ideal. That's, to me, not the progress that needs to be made in this encounter. But if everything I have is broken, then use the parts I don't have. If my body hasn't long lost yet, I can just reach out to the part of me that hasn't been used yet. The part of you that hasn't been used yet? What do you mean? A headache. An instant of a few milliseconds, I see him, probably for the last time. I could not understand him, but I guess I can use his pain as a lesson. A hero who used a poem about himself as his spell. All those circuits he didn't give up the saber, I suppose. Even if I don't understand the meaning behind it, I will accept those words in your place. Okay, that's a version of accepting him. That's progress. I will accept those words in your place. That's progress. Okay, I am. I start with the spell so that I can be proud of myself. Ooh, there's pride! Future Shiro was proud of nothing, as it were. Emiya's words hurt Emiya. He accepted that fact and chose to kill me. That's the only thing he could wish for in the end. Then, just as you deny me, I will defeat you with all my powers. Ooh, fancy. I am the bone of my sword. I murmur the words without realizing it. You're saying it in Japanese, though? Be a cool bro and say it in English. Oh, what's this? What's this song? Oh, wait. I think I recognize this song. This was the cool song that played when Shiro kicked Kirai's ass, right? This is the, yeah, we're gonna start kicking ass song. Final boss ass kick song. Yeah, I like this song. I like the final boss ass kick song. I raise my head. Bob my head. I pour determination to my dying body. Determination, that's exactly what you need. That'll keep you going. I've been watching an Undertale Let's Play. I swallow the blood clotting in my throat. Yang's sword Concho regains its image. You! Oh, he said Mada. Kisama Mada, which means you still. So it should be you still. Anyways. Or I'm wrong and Mada means something else. Is it Made that's still? No, I think Mada is still. Mada can mean multiple things though, because Japanese language. Anyways, kanji. That's right, I already knew that. Pretty sure Mada means... Oh, this is gonna bug me. Hold on, the song is epic, but I'm gonna double check. Mada can mean still, right? Wait, I gotta check Jisho. I'm sure he said Kisama Mada. I know Kisama is a mean version of you. Mada. Yes, Mada can mean still. I'm not crazy. He said Kisama Mada. Anyways. That's right. I already knew that. This is just a dream. A dream? Are you but would you want to turn the dream into reality? Or do you mean Archer is a nightmare for you and you're going to make a version of yourself that doesn't go in that nightmare? Or you are talking about your ideal of saving everyone being a dream, but you want to still keep the dream alive? This is just a dream. But I kept on believing in it because I thought it was right. Kiritsugu pursued it because he knew it was an unattainable dream, an impossible ideal. That's why he became so cynical. He thought that the best way to attain it was with the Grail, because he realized that there was no way to normally attain it. So when the Grail came out, he thought, I have to do everything, be as cynical as possible, it'll be worth it for the result. But you know, that's, I guess, a problem with you, is that you've had no real goal of how to achieve your dream since forever. So, does that mean you're going to have a goal now? Even if it may be unattainable. He believed that he would reach his destination if he kept running. And then after the Grail fucked things off, he kind of gave up on that ideal and just, well, I'll help people when I can. Are you saying there's some way to break through that and succeed in the ideal where he failed? Because that's a tall order. And if not, do you at least have some healthy way to fall back when you fail? Unlike with Future Shiro, who did not healthily fall back at all? Oh, he has a goal to prove Emiya wrong? I mean, that's such a minor goal, I guess. It's something, I suppose. Maybe he can deal with his healthy realization to give himself worth later on. I just assumed that would happen in this timeline. And also given how much Future Shiro was driving in home that without the ideal, he had himself no value. I thought the answer to that question is, well, I actually do have value. No, I'll do the ideal better. But, okay, whatever lets us get the climax, I suppose. He believed that he would reach his destination if he kept running.
そうか、彼女の鞘。契約が切れたところで、その守護は続いている。
Her sheath. Its protection is still there, even though the contract does not exist anymore. Yeah, I mean, the sheath, yeah. So you know about it. You know the sheath is still in you. I guess the sheath isn't in you, though. The sheath is still in past Shiro, but I suppose the sheath still isn't in future Shiro anymore, given how he's surprised. Because otherwise, I think he'd be more like, oh yeah, I have it too. But, Although, last time it was the same thing. The epic fight music started playing, and it was sort of prompted by the sheath. Because in that version of Timeline 1, Shiro summoned the sheath in order to surprise Kiritsugu. And in this version, it's because future Shiro's like, oh, that's right, you have the sheath. I ready my sword. I don't care about that. I
お前には負けない。誰かに負けるのはいい。
won't lose to you. I don't mind losing against someone.
けど、自分には負けられない。
But I can't lose against myself. You gave him that advice in Timeline 1, Archer. I will keep on being Emiya Shiro. Ooh! Nice clash. It's an unbelievable technique. His attacking body is on the verge of death. Oh, we're actually seeing a bit of Shiro here. I didn't realize what that was because it's foggy, but okay. That's when we get to Shishiro, is when he's in the final battle, as it were. That's the only time we get to see him. Outside of the prologue from Rin's point of view. I do think there's some important metaphorical significance there, and I get it, is that we get to see him because this is when he's actually developing, so we get to see him as he develops. Or there's a couple different ways to interpret it, but I don't mind the approach. I kind of like it. His attacking body is on the verge of death. His fingers are broken, his limbs are slashed, and his breathing is stopped without him even realizing it. So what technique are you using? What did you whip out that Archer wouldn't expect? His speed is nothing, and his attack is mediocre. But, where's the but? The boy that has absorbed his combat skills to the point where he's able to fight decently has now returned to fighting without them. Okay, the song does not work with what's happening. It seems like he's sucking. Unless Archer is losing now because of a will thing as well. Like, he's, what? This Shiro is still denying it? Wouldn't he just accept that he's still being stubborn? Wouldn't he stubbornly think that this version of Shiro is just being stubborn? I understand that future Archer is surprised that it works despite him not being connected to Saber, but... I mean, I feel like on some level, if future Shiro is that smart, if he has good memories, which maybe he doesn't, he should realize that it was on some level working, even without her anyways, but because I feel like before Saber was summoned, Lancer meant to kill Shiro, and yet Shiro didn't die, which to me says that Avalon was doing some of that work, I feel, but... I want to save everyone. Archer is both a logical contradiction and now the South, but the ideal encompasses an aesthetic that makes the endless journey worth it. Selfishly pursue selfishness. Shiro stopped copying Archer. I suppose. Is Archer just going to let himself lose because of that? Because fighting-wise, it doesn't seem like Shiro is doing anything good. The words certainly aren't saying he is. An unskilled, frantic attack. But still, this blow is heavier than any that came before. Because you have your emotion poured in? I love it when the victory is because of... I mean, I was saying I wanted him to have an emotional victory. But I meant, you know, convincing with words rather than, my emotions give my attack strength. What? I guess the metaphor is that as he attacks, his strong emotions are conveying that he's doing something that diverges from future Shiro's path, which is, the metaphor is fine, but it makes me think of when, you know, shonens really do that. They don't do it metaphorically. Anyways, what? Archer's indifference turns into surprise within a second. The swinging swords are like a scream. They clash against his longsword with unimaginable speed. Where is his power coming from? The attacks are unlike before. You? He cannot go into defense. This attack should cut through the boy's neck. Realizing that he cannot make light of the boy, he swings his sword. Archer still being smarticle, at least, you know, when he needs to in the moment. But he's still going to be swayed by emotions in a fight like this. Up and down, left and right. And all around? Up and down and all around. The 4 attacks are enough to cut up his body to pieces. Ellipses. The boy blocks them. No, exceeding his 4 attacks, the sword comes to slash his neck. Uh-oh. So, he did the bone of the sword speech, but he's still using Concho and Bakuya, it seems? Where's the bone sword? You think you're gonna use the bone speech, you're gonna get the bone sword? Alright. Dashes. Or are you using the bone sword and I just can't tell because of the images? Maybe it's meant to be the bone sword. I don't know. Bringing back the long sword. Wait, that is the bone sword. I didn't get a clear image of him using it. I feel like that's a slight nitpick because I was then reversed in my... Based on the way the slashes are going, to me, that says Kansho Bakuya. Unless that's meant to not be Kansho Bakuya. Anyways, whatever. I guess it doesn't matter. I feel like it does matter, but bringing back the longsword, he pairs the attack. The longsword suggests not Kansho Bakuya, but is Shiro using the longsword? Anyways. You. He intuitively understands that he'll be killed unless he attacks. The longsword attacks the enemy that is on the verge of death. And how does Shiro defend again? And the boy frantically swings his sword. Singular! So he must be using the longsword too? Unless he's using a singular short sword. Whatever. Their swords crash in balance. I do think that there's some slight conveyance problems, but the emotion is epic enough that I'm willing to let it slide. A boneless sword? You just don't got any meat on that bone. The bone meat. The space is filled with sparks, and anything entering the space should be cut to pieces. But it should be the last spark that a dying man gives off. The boy loses his breath every time he attacks, almost falls, holds his ground and attacks again. Dashes. The sight reassures him. You gonna need a boneless pizza? Wait, pizzas have bones? There's no power left in his enemy. Oh, you mean Archer is the man. Okay, I thought it was Shiro that was giving out. Huh. Loses his ground and attacks again. It should be that the last spark a dying man gives off. Right, of course, Shiro wouldn't be a man, he'd be a boy. Is Shiro a boy or is he a man? There's no power left in his enemy. The boy in front of him is literally on the verge of death. Wait. The sight reassures him there is no power left in the enemy. The boy in front of him is literally on the verge of death. Okay. Wait, this is kind of interlude talk, because it's not even truly from Shiro's perspective. Sudden bone on the meat flashbacks. Yep. On the bone meat. Meat on bone. All those crunchy bones are the best part of the pizza? So why do those arms have seemingly infinite power? Because willpower? Is there an actual logical, tactical reason? Or is he just winning because willpower? I have no conscience. I don't even know whose perspective this is anymore, given that they're both Shiro's. I can neither tell what the enemy's doing, nor if my attacks are doing anything. My muscles are screaming for oxygen, and the lack of blood keeps ordering my body to stop. I suppress them all together by force. Isn't. That's all that's filling my head. Isn't wrong. The ideal isn't wrong. My ideal is fake. He's right. I can't be a superhero. What can you be? As long as I admire such a thing, I'll end up like the man before me. So you're gonna admire something else, or what's the deal? It isn't? But I felt beauty in it. Sure. I mean, I feel like it's one or the other, right? You're either accepting that admiring such a thing won't make you like him, or you're gonna go on a different route. if you do it, that just feels like it's not solving the problem, and yet you still win the fight. To me, that feels like there's an issue there. But the bleed through is getting too powerful. Oh, Archer's strength is fading. It's going towards Shiro. I guess maybe it's based on willpower as the memories go to him. If Shiro has a stronger will, he saps more of Archer's strength, where Archer's will and conviction becomes lessened. I can see the potential there. It's Shiro, whichever one they're talking about, it's Shiro. Hence the narrative confusion. I guess it's okay for the narration to be confused here, but I like understanding what's going on. I felt beauty in it. I know it's just hypocrisy to value everyone else over yourself. But still, I admired it, thinking how great it would be if I could live that way. Uh-huh. And then it ended up being kind of problematic. So what's your solution, Shiro? That's the only thing driving my dying body. You'll figure out how to make it healthy later? I thought now was the time for the healthy, but okay. Dashes. He cannot hear what his enemy is saying. His enemy's voice is weak, yet his attacks are relentless. Looking, the boy's hands are one with the sword's hilt. I think, okay, he does have the bone sword. Now I think that makes that kind of clear. It must be to keep the sword in place, but that will transfer the impact directly to his body. The boy is covered in blood, and he will fall forward and die if he retreats. Even swinging the sword should come with great pain. Dashes. He blocks it in an annoyance. His dying enemy gets on his nerves, but he himself gets on his nerves, because even though he knows it will end once he retreats, he is not able to do so. Once again, I feel like that's a little debatable whose perspective that is, but I'm fine with it. Because he is getting on his own nerves. Dashes. But how can he retreat? Straightforward attacks without strategy. It is a shame to turn his back to such attacks. It is also a disgrace not to block them. His enemy will self-destruct once he retreats. But he has a presentiment? But he has a presentiment that he will lose something important if he does so. A presentiment. That's a new word for me. Dashes. The worries will end soon. His enemy is at his limits. He will fall after 2 more blows, or 3 at most. Okay, this seems like logical thinking, so this is Archer's perspective. When it's logical, it should be Archer. When it's emotional, it's Shiro. I'll accept that, I guess. Damn! He clucks his tongue at this stupid thought. He previously thought that his enemy would last 2 more blows, but he has received over 10 blows since then. Worries will end soon. Okay, thinking that the logical side is Archer's perspective, he blocks it in annoyance. His dying enemy is getting on his nerves. How can he retreat? Straightforward attacks without strategy. Shame to turn his back. Self-destruct once he retreats. The boy will not fall. Ellipses! He cannot hear the boy's voice. Is the oh, metaphorically you mean. He's not even necessarily speaking, or if he is, you're ignoring it. Oh, you mean it's not wrong? It's not wrong to like that ideal? That's what you can't hear? You're refusing to accept it. I see. But also, even metaphorically, his voice, as it were, of the ideal still has value, is what you're refusing to accept. The dying boy frantically opposes the obstacle in front of him. That figure. He stares at the figure with his own eyes for the first time. I keep swinging the sword with arms that are about to tear off. So he should be Archer's perspective. He stares at the figure with his own eyes for the first time. Archer staring at Shiro's figure, you mean? of what this version of Shiro is that is separate from himself. I keep swinging the sword with arms that are about to tear off. The only thing I have left is the one thing I'm saying with all my might. Isn't? My barrage of strikes are compensation for that scream. There were people that could not save others, and there was me who could not save them. I swore to myself never to let such a thing happen again, seeing the memories that meaninglessly disappeared. It isn't! How long has it been since then? There were things I lost, and there were things I dropped. There are always things that will be forgotten. So I swore to myself never to forget this one fact. To become a superhero. I'll protect it even if it isn't my wish, or even if it's just sophistry to soften my guilt. It has to come true. The person who saved me died, leaving those words behind. I guess in a way, wanting to save Kiritsugu's moments there, wanting to save the happy Kiritsugu, that's a form of heroism. And if you're trying this hard for it, that's something. I believe in the wish contained in those words. Even if everyone in this world disagrees with me, even if I myself curse me, And so... Oh, I see. He realizes the attacks will not end. I finally am starting to figure out how this works. His enemy will not stop. He will not stop from his own will. The boy is attacking with all his might, but he is not looking at his opponent. He's looking at his ideal. If anything, he's ignoring his opponent. The thing the boy is trying to defeat is his obstacle, his own self that is hindering himself. He's swinging his sword to enforce what he has believed in, what he will keep on believing in. Dashes. Realizing that, the man grits his teeth in annoyance. The boy keeps challenging it, knowing that he won't win and that there's no meaning to it. That is the exact mistake he has detested. So why? Why are you letting him break through to you? Why does he want to see how long the boy can continue? Because you still foolishly want the dream to work. But like, if he just succeeds and the only resolution is, oh wait, future Shiro still wants the dream too, that solves nothing. Alright, I'm going to take a second to actually read some of the chat. I've been ignoring it to focus on the fight. Kiritsugu is happy that he saved one child. So many people died, but he was overjoyed that at the end of the hell that he could save one single life. That act gave meaning to him and inspired Shiro. Ironically, Archer could never truly comprehend that. You just have to keep reading until all the dust settles. Real talk, I really dislike this scene. It's so slow. Yeah, I can see its slowness. I'm more annoyed at the slight confusion at first of understanding that when we see this view, it's Archer's perspective. Now I get it, but I think that could have been made a little bit more clear. By the end of it, I couldn't give a shit about Archer. I mean, I still give shits, but if I have a problem with this scene, it's not its pacing. It's the resolution, if that really is the resolution. But again, we're not at the end of the scene yet. I can understand why this is a controversial scene because it's so metaphorical and vague. Doesn't seem grounded in reality. Anyways, back to the game. Why does he want to see how long the boy can continue? This is it. Disappear! He raised his long sword. His enemy's attacks are somewhere he has to take seriously, or something he has to take seriously. He repels the attacks and crushes his enemy's skull for sure, but he doesn't. Once again, not truly focused on the one before him. You're just thinking of this Shiro still as a version of your past self, not accepting that this Shiro can be something else. In a sense, you're both still being ignorant to a point, but Maybe past Shiro's ignorance is stronger at the moment. And you're more doubtful. A clanging sound. The fatal attack is easily deflected. The one who could not block his attacks until now repels a swing made with all his might. Dashes. Ah, they gave us like a freeze frame of this image a while back, and then they paused on it for a bit later, and now they keep showing it, this image of him looking at Shiro and accepting that there might be something more. He gasps. He sees his enemy repel his sword and gets back into stance. The boy's eyes are looking straight at. The impact causes one of my arms and legs to break. My sense of pain hasn't been numbed. I use my fury to clamp down the pain that almost makes me wet my pants. Okay, that's not my word. Clamp down the pain that almost makes me wet my pants. Pants pain. I don't have enough water. I can't release excess things. That seems random, but I'll take it. The left side of the enemy's chest is open. Since half my body is broken, this will be my final blow. But such thoughts do not fill my head. Oh, they don't? Because you're too emotional right now to think logically? The only thing in my head is, it's not wrong! He pulls back his long sword to protect his open left side. He will make it. He will easily make it. Ah, yes, the left side Shiro's going for. This is my final blow. Oh, I thought the whole time you were saying it's not wrong, but it isn't a mistake works too. It's not a mistake! That's the only thing in my head. Even if Emiya Shiro is a fake, this is absolutely true. For everyone to be happy. As an ideal everyone thinks of. So I won't back down. Because this dream is... The unwavering gaze. Faults and lies. Shaking off everything. Running without stopping. It isn't a mistake! Those words are driven into his chest. An attack made at full strength. Defense that should have been fast enough. The cogwheels never got into gear and the battle is decided quickly. Okay, so this is basically just a willpower emotion fight. And that's fine, but the way Shiro won is just... No, I can do it, stupid. You gave up too easily. Which is just... Seems a little weak sauce. Dashes. It's slow relative to everything else. I think the pace of the fight is fine. I just think it's the resolution I have a problem with. Past Shiro probably won't sign away his afterlife now. I guess now that he's seen future Shiro. But this, does that mean this future Shiro is just going to be more idealistic when he remembers his sense of self? Or is he destined to just be, depressed forever? Maybe we can think he becomes happy once he goes back to being a spirit. Considering he took Archer's pain as a lesson, he'll die happy and then let go of the world. Shiro managed to charm his own self. Yeah, I guess past Shiro knows now where he theoretically would go, so he can be smart and think, I won't go down that path. But, there's still many paths. I mean, seeing that if you don't know better that you'll go down a bad path, but then accepting, then I'll just do it differently so it's not bad, is definitely not a smart resolution. But, I mean, as long as he does it later, there's something there. But, if he does it later, I feel like now's the time to do it. But if the argument is he's saving that development for Timeline 3 because they need something for Timeline 3, I'd argue back, there's plenty of stuff they could potentially do with him in Timeline 3 beyond just him accepting that. I think the important thing is accepting his own self-worth. He gave himself pride. That was a nice start. But it still seemed more or less focused just on the dream. And future Shiro being like, oh yeah, That dream was cool. Sure. Anyways. Oh, G to G. See how what later wise. Dashes. He hears the sound of the blade piercing him. Dashes. The one surprised is the knight in red. So, are you dead? Do I make a contract with you? Where's Gilgamesh? Because, like, if I win and beat you, all that's left is Saber and Gilgamesh. And we've seen that before. So, that can't be what's happening. His enemy attacked with determination to defeat him. Then it is natural for his attack to do so. His enemy attacked with determination. Ah, because future Shiro was undetermined, inconsistent, imprecise? Sure. The boy does not need to be surprised, nor does he have anything to spare to be surprised. Dashes. That is why the knight is the only one that is surprised. It is a great wonder how he could not block an attack he could have easily blocked. Because he didn't want to block it? I mean, ultimately, you're still Shiro, still having this self-hatred. Maybe past Shiro was starting to slightly get some care for himself and a little lessen his self-hatred. Maybe. Future Shiro, though, still definitely has it in spades. I support myself with my unbroken right leg. The sword in my hand has pierced Archer's chest. Oh, is that even not Bone Sword? Is that just Durandal or some shit? Or that doesn't even look like the fucking... Wait, that doesn't even look like... That doesn't even look like Calibolg. Is that meant to just be Durandal or something? Shouldn't it be That just seems so weird to me. If it's... Okay. Weird. At least based on the image I'm seeing now, the sword in Archer's hand does not look like Calibolg. The sword in my hand has pierced... Is it just a generic sword? The sword in my hand has pierced Archer's chest.
Archer. なぜ?
She really did watch the whole thing. Archer, why? Was she watching all this time from that place? Still standing at the entrance, Saber questions Archer. Dashes. Archer does not answer. He might not need to answer. Or maybe he doesn't know the answer. I'll answer for you, because he still wants the dream to come true after all this. But, like, self-worth. Where is the self-worth? My fingers throb. My broken fingers scream at me that they do not want to hold the sword anymore. Dashes. The knight in red does not move. Even with a blade in his chest, a servant should be able to easily counterattack. But his hands are lowered and show no signs of moving. I know without being told what that means. He gave up?
俺の勝ちだ、アーチャー。
I won, Archer. The foolish ideal you rejected won. Take that. I make the declaration while looking at him. The knight in red closes his eyes once and...
ああ、そして私の敗北だ。
Yes, and I lost. So, do you get self-worth when fighting Gilgamesh, or... He murmurs while looking off into the distance. As if to convince himself. I pull out the sword. The projected weapon disappears as soon as it touches outside air. The tension floods out of me, and I finally take notice of my condition. It's terrible. The slashed wounds are healing. The slashed wounds are healing, but lots of places are turning dark red. It's probably just a generic sword. Archer may not have had the power left for an artifact. I mean, I'm fine with the idea of a generic sword for the battle when they're kind of on the end of their ropes. But, like, they could have stated on some level that it was a generic sword. Or they could have, been like, all we have left is to make a generic sword. But it just felt like if she was doing the speech, she was going to do the bone sword. But he didn't. And they still said it was a long sword. So I'm like, oh, bone sword. I don't know. It feels meaningful for him to do the bone sword for the first time. I'm fine with them holding off on him doing that till maybe timeline 3. I don't know. But, if that is the meaning, is that, oh, we're using a generic sword because we're on the end of our ropes, like, make it clear you're using a generic sword because you're under the end of your ropes. But, alright. I'll go ahead and make another intermission here. I'll skip that, go here. Stubbornness prevails. Character development. What's that? I forgot to put the S there, I noticed, in prevails. Anyways, intermission time. The slashed wounds are healing, but lots of places are turning dark red. Archer said something about Saber's sheath, but what's that power putting priority on? Making sure you don't die? It heals the torn flesh at once, but it seems to be putting off the broken bones until later. You gotta deal with the bones yourself, because you're the bone of your whatever. Ellipses question mark? Is this when Rin shows up? Then, I hear loud footsteps from the west side of the hallway that Lance disappeared into. Is this Rin, or is this the coward Shinji? Someone's coming. Okay, Rin. She appears in the terrace and jumps down without hesitation. Okay, so what's happening with Archer? Do we let him die, or do we make a contract with him? Is Gilgamesh not going to show up out of nowhere? Are we actually going to have a bit of a beat before that? Ow! And she moans in pain at her landing. I still want an Archer off, and it's kind of hard to do it with just Shiro. It's possible, I guess. I guess it would just be quite a bit for Shiro, even with some, Archer residue to end up competing with Gilly. It seems like they're setting that up, but they might be setting it up even more for a Timeline 3 fight with Shiro and Gilly. Maybe. She moans in pain at her landing. Well, no, they can't be doing that, because we have to beat Gilly in this timeline, right? Unless we're going to do, like, some kind of... Because it can't just be Saber again, because we already saw Saber beat Gilly. But, Shiro without Archer isn't going to be able to do it, realistically, unless he pulls something out of his butt. I guess if we could team fight him, but, like, we already know Saber beats him alone, theoretically. So, like, it would need to be we team fight him when he's even stronger because of Grail juices or something. I don't know. That's why in my mind we still don't let Archer fade. And yet narratively I feel like that's where it would be heading. She moans in pain at her landing.
Shiro, 無事?
Shiro, are you alright?
あーちゃん、あんたその傷どうしちゃったのよ?
Archer, what's with that wound? Well, he's not dead, so maybe that means we can still Save him and make a contract? It just feels like if we're going to make a contract, it has to be on the fly, right? I don't know. It doesn't have to be. But I feel like Gilgamesh attacking and then Shiro making a contract with Archer on the fly. I guess arguably that's a little repetitive what happened with Saber and Rin, so maybe it's better for him to do it not on the fly. But would Archer just be that easily accepting of it? Maybe at this point. Maybe because he wants to see a bit longer where Shiro's wish will take him, or try to think as best he can of some way to steer Shiro's stubbornness in the right direction. Archer, what's with that wound? She follows her sudden arrival with a torrent of questions. It seems Lancer saved Tosaka as he promised. But Tosaka's energy takes the power out of me. Oh, now that you know that she's okay, does that mean your drive fades? I thought your drive was more directed at yourself, but does she want to check on my safety, or is she angry about Archer's wound? Of course, she cares about both of you. Because who do you love more? Which Shiro?
まったくつくづく甘い
Man, I'm really soft-hearted. Are you? You kinda, sorta were gonna let them have their way with Rin there if Lancer hadn't been a cool bro. Did you predict him being a cool bro? Did you have that all planned out? Did you have some backup plan? Or was it what I thought of you giving into Gilgamesh's faker word? In which case, that was you doing a cold-hearted thing.
彼女がもう少し非道な人間なら私もかつての自分になど戻らなかったもの
If she'd been more cruel, I wouldn't have returned to my own self. I see. So her being so nice started to, I don't know, prod your memories back? He talks sarcastically, but his voice only contains warmth. After looking at Tosaka once... Oh, you mean recently, I think is what you mean. I wouldn't have returned to my own self. I think what you mean is that Rin, because she was still saying that she likes the part of Shiro that's, like, foolish and all that, she was saying that if she was talking to Archer still, that was sort of opening up Archer's old wound and letting him submit, and why his will was weaker and it let Shiro win this fight. I'm fair with that. I'm fine with that, I suppose. After looking at Tosaka once, the Knight in Red steps back as if to exit the stage. What do you mean? To let Rin embrace past Shiro?
ともあれ決着はついたお前を認めてしまった以上エミヤなどという英雄はここにはいられん
Well, the match is settled. A hero called Emiya cannot stay here now that he has approved of you. So you're just gonna let yourself fade? Then what do we do about Gilgamesh? I don't know.
敗者は早々に立ち去るとしよう
The loser should leave right away. Or is Rin's response going to be, don't be an idiot, idiot? I would expect that and also be totally okay with it. If she's like, don't be an idiot, idiot, and he just, again, with self-hatred, decides to let himself leave, and Rin's like, no, and forces him to stay, I can definitely see that being the route they would go. Dashes. Without saying goodbye to Tosaka, huh? Oh? His wound is deep and he has no master. You could be the master. He will disappear here and he will return to the original place through heroic spirit. But that's bad. Huh? It happens in an instant. Gilgamesh attacks! And Archer deflects and gets killed by Gilgamesh? What's happening? It is a fatal attack that takes the opening in me. And I have relaxed after seeing Tosaka. Wait, what? Wait, what's happening? That takes the opening in me as I have relaxed after seeing Tosaka. Or is Archer still going for an attack on me? Is he that... Is he secretly, more evil than we realized? I don't think so. I assume this is Gilly's attack. As I have relaxed after seeing Tosaka. Several swords are called forth. The rain of swords comes down to pierce Emiyashiro's body and... And? I fell. Eh? Did Gilly attack Shiro because why? just because it felt Jimmy's, or is this just still Archer being petty? I'm pushed back and fall on my butt. Or he's still trying to prove it, like if Shiro can't deflect that attack, he's not worth it. I could potentially agree with that, but it seemed like it was settled. Dashes. I'm pushed back about a meter. In front of me. Oh, okay. It was Gilly. And a repeat image, huh? My broken limbs cannot support my body, and I do not have the power to get up. So here's the question. Do we contract with ourselves to save ourselves, or does Archer still go out and we have to run away? Or do we fight Gilly here? How? Again, it would just be Saber. That's why I feel like we have to contract with Archer. Unless Shiro can match Gilly here and now. But that feels like a long shot. A very long shot. Archer's been at 1/10 of his power this whole time. But Rin hasn't objected to Archer leaving, which I would have suspected. I do not have the power to get back up. And so, I can only look at myself that got skewered in front of me. Who is it? Saber's scream cuts open the silence. She's looking at the second floor on top of the crumbled stairs. Archer only pretended to stand on top of the crumbled stairs, but this man really believes in the stance of being on the stairs of the top.
楽しませてもらったぞ。偽物同士。実にくだらない戦いだった。
I have enjoyed it. Indeed. It was a pitiful battle, one befitting a pair of fakes.
貴様。
Archer? Other Archer. So do we get our Archer off, or is Archer just dead already? They haven't definitively said he's dead. A contract might still be possible. So I was wrong about him attacking Saber in the heat of the moment. He attacked Shiro and Archer blocked.
10年ぶりだな、セイバー。お前とはもう少し早く顔合わせをする気であったが、予定が変わった。予想外の事故ばかり起きてな。俺の思惑とはずれてきてしまったの。
10 years, huh, Saber? I was going to go see you earlier. My plans have changed. Unexpected things kept on happening, and things are going against my will. 10 years. I was going to see you earlier. Yes, you did see her earlier in the other timeline. But in this timeline, you had to babysit Shinji for a while. Unexpected things kept on happening. Servant Gilgamesh, the one to defeat Berserker, and the one who killed Ilias Veil. He turns aside Saber's glare, and looks down at me and the skewered Archer.
さて、理解したか？それが本物の重みというものだ。
Well, do you understand now? That is the strength of the real thing.
いかに形を似せ力を似せようが、所詮は作り物。本物の輝きには及ばない。
No matter how well you imitate its shape and power, it's still only an imitation. It does not even approach the radiance of the real ones. So maybe being able to defeat this version of Archer, proving that an imitation can surpass the original, could prove that even an imitated dream can eventually make the dream that was imitated come true. I guess there's a narrative through line there. I feel like Shiro still needs some self-worth at some point, but I suppose for the time being that's a decent through line. He raises his hand. I feel like if we want that through line, though, we have to save Archer, right? Unless they're going to give Shonen a crazy power-up with the bleed-through from Archer and make him actually crazy servant level all of a sudden. But that's kind of a pretty sad ending for future Shiro, and it just feels like he's going to go back to his throne that he hates without too much fanfare. I feel like it'd be nice, you know, to give him a little bit of a resolution with this timeline and not have him leave unceremoniously. He raised his hand. It's as if he's ordering his soldiers.
偽物が作り上げた贋作など見るのも汚らわしい。
I cannot even stand to look at a counterfeit that a faker has created.
クズめ。貴様らのうちには何一つ新作が存在せぬ。
You piece of trash. You have nothing real within you. Yeah, well, his friends and stuff are realer than you. Maybe this is when he's actually forced to confront his self-worth. I was saying, maybe the Gilgamesh fight, I guess. It could be like, no, I guess they could have said, yeah, I guess if they're like, I have real blah, that's what's real. Maybe.
他人の真似事だけで出来上がった偽物は即ゴミになるがいい。
An imitation made by copying people should be turned into junk. He shoots numerous noble phantasms. What do we do? Saber, what are you doing? Archer, what are you doing? Shiro, what are you doing? Rin? I mean, Rin, I don't know if Rin can help much in this situation. I think she's a little underpowered at the moment compared to everything else going on. The unavoidable rain pours down. There are about 30 of them. I couldn't dodge or block them even if I was in perfect condition. Clouds of dust spring up. The showers of swords tear apart the already ruined hall. But even in the midst of the chaos, I see it. The red cloak flies. Still skewered, he runs to me and pushes me once again. Is this him dying in vain? I mean, it's not in vain if he saves, you know, the beliefs of this version of Shiro, but I just don't know how we win. Without him, I mean, unless we use Saber, which is repetitive. I don't know how we win without being repetitive. That's what I should say. Dashes. I'm pushed away from the red figure. Because this feels like that's what it's signaling, right? That he keeps saving us. Unless we save him in the end by making the contract. Will that fill him full of energy? I don't know. His eyes are telling me. You defeat him. You really think Shiro has it in him to beat Gilgamesh? I mean, I thought future Shiro maybe with like higher power level. I guess, you know, he talked about the reality marble. If past Shiro can make the reality marble, then maybe he's got a chance. But, like, woof. This is a tall order, future Shiro. Do you really believe in past Shiro that much? Because that's a lot of belief, very out of nowhere. I mean, not completely out of nowhere, but... As long as I defeated Archer, as long as I want to be a superhero, I must defeat him. For the narrative to have a satisfying conclusion, you must defeat him. But will there be a satisfying way for you to defeat him? The clouds of dust fill my vision. The red cloak sinks into the rubble. But I see it before he disappears. The smile? His eyes are filled with confidence. That servant is no match for us, Emiya Shiro. Ah, you refer to yourself as a together. That's nice. Just before he dies, question mark? Neither Saber nor Tosaka will be the one to defeat him. No, you have to be the one to do this to prove that you're not all fake. Which means proving some part of you is real, proving that you have merit? So you prove it in the fight against Gilgamesh instead? My own self is telling me that Emiya Shiro is the natural enemy of that servant. I mean, yeah, I was thinking something similar ever since Timeline 1, that there was definitely a rivalry being built up there. Although, in this case, it's a bit more personal than just fighting over a waifu. Still, it's kind of funny in that sense, you know. You like the same girl, and you also, you know, make the same swords. You sheath the same blades. Metaphors. My vision clears up. Dust is in the air, and the rubble is piled up high. So, was that like our subtle way of killing Archer? Or is that like, we're gonna not definitively kill him to use him later on? There's nothing else. The knight in red disappeared underneath the rubble. I don't know for sure if that's Death.
ほう、驚いたぞアーチャー。あの傷で他人を救う余裕があったとはな。
Oh, I'm surprised, Archer. You had enough to spare to save someone else in that situation. Hey, look, he got to be a hero. He got to save his past self and that ideal, the ideal he abandoned. His sarcastic words contain some scorn. The man smiles in satisfaction as he looks down at the hall filled with Archer's blood. Ah yes, we're in the same hall where he killed Berserker and Elia, and Shiro could do nothing but watch. But now he's got determination? And that means everything, I guess. No, a lot has changed since then. Shiro's definitely gained some understanding of some stuff. And possibly, I mean, I guess that's where it's going, right? Archer kind of alluded to, you still don't understand that, and also we haven't seen the reality marble again, so I feel like almost certainly that's how we win this fight, is taking advantage of the reality marble, but we'll see. The sarcastic words contain some scorn. The man smiles in satisfaction as he looks down at the hall filled with Archer's blood. Dashes. Silence falls. Despite that, Gilly's theme is still playing. Gilgamesh is the most powerful being here. Anyone that moves will follow Archer's fate. So is Saber just gonna be a cheerleader? She's like stronger than she's ever been because of Rin's thingamajigger. Is she just gonna be a cheerleader for this fight? That's what I was wondering before. What's she gonna do? There's no way she just stands by for this fight. The Archer thing was different. Even Saber's silent, wondering how best to attack the enemy. But...
この誰に断って私のアーチャーに手を出してんのよ。
Aw, look at that Rin, still with her connection to her Archer. Whose permission did you get to attack my Archer? With Archer's death. Oh, is that confirming his death? Tosaka has lost her composure. Light runs across space. Pure destructive force, magical energy released from the jewel without any processing. He does not even dodge it. Okay. You know what? What time is it? It's about 11:20, almost level 25, 11:25-ish. We've been going for around 3 hours. I could potentially go a little longer tomorrow if I had to finish the Gilgamesh fight. It feels like a nice beat to end here. I don't know. I could just keep the Gilgamesh train rolling, but I feel like if this was the ending, there'd be some more afterthought stuff anyways. Although theoretically we could do that afterthought stuff Friday, but I'm doubtful we'd fully finish it, and then I'd have the weekend anyways. Yeah, I think I will just take a beat here, probably. But, yeah. He does not even... Actually, I'll go a little bit further. I don't know. I'll know when I see it. He does not even dodge it. He isn't even scratched. Man, look at how tough he is. There's the beat. Alright. Where were we? We were here, so we're up to like here now. Let's go here. I wanted an archer off. I guess Shiro counts as an archer. Right then, so, this has been fun-ish. I do feel like the fact that he solved it through stubbornness, I'm not a fan of solving such things through stubbornness. Hopefully he solves the fight with Gilgamesh through something that's not just stubbornness. I understand that Shiro's stubborn, and Rin likes the part of him that's stubborn, and so there's merit to that, and the ideal is good, but you can't keep winning everything with stubbornness. And the whole thing that Archer said was that if you abandon that ideal, all you'll have is nothing because you have no self-worth, that kind of thing. I mean, he didn't say it quite like that, but, you know, the implication is there, and Shiro accepted that, and then I feel like the objection to that should be, but I have self-worth, and instead it's, no, the ideal is good, as if he's still only holding on to that and has no self-worth. So I feel like, even if you want to keep holding on to the ideal, at least have self-worth as well. And I feel they could have done that during the Archer fight. Maybe they're saving that for the Gilly fight. But I feel that you can sort of layer it so that you get some of it in the Archer fight and some of it in the Gilly fight, if that is what's happening. So I do think that's a little bit of a snafu, but we'll have to see how the Gilly fight plays out, I suppose. At the moment, I felt like the Archer-Shiro fight could have been... There could have been a more meaningful resolution beyond just, stubbornness. But still, I'll see you guys next time. Still no outro phrase. Shiro fights Gilly. I've been looking forward to this for a while. It was, the Shiro Archer fight I was looking forward to, and it was decently exciting. Shiro Gilgamesh fight, though, I'm hoping to be even more exciting. See you then. Still don't have an outro phrase. Stop recording.